Hi geeks, it's Andrea. We've covered a lot of creepy kids videos this horror month, so I figured we should definitely cover the creepiest kids of them all, kids who have murdered. While doing research on this, I was shocked as to how many there actually were out there. These are just a few of the cases. There are plenty of lesser known cases of children who have murdered. I'm going to warn you right now, this is going to be a really messed up video and there is nothing lighthearted about it at all. So if you are disturbed easily, I strongly recommend coming back tomorrow. Alright geeks, let's go. Joshua Phillips. In November of 1998, the mother of 14-year-old Josh Phillips, Melissa, went into his room with the intent to clean it. She noticed that there was a wet spot beneath his bed and assumed that his waterbed had a leak in it. When she went to find the leak, she found that there was electrical tape holding the bottom of his frame together. When she removed the tape, she discovered the body of their 8-year-old neighbor girl, Maddie Clifton. Maddie had been missing for the week leading up to her finding the body. During that week, Joshua had been one of the neighbors who helped look for Maddie. Phillips claims that her death was an accident, stating that he accidentally hit her in the eye with a baseball after she threw the ball at him when they were playing. When he struck the ball with the bat, it flew in her eye and she began to bleed. Worried about what his father would do when he came home to find her injured, Phillips claims he went into a panic. He dragged Maddie into his room, strangled her with a phone cord for around 15 minutes, hit her with a baseball bat, and stabbed her 11 times. In July of 1999, he was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison without parole. Due to the changes in the law, the incompetence of his original lawyer, and how harsh the sentence was to an adolescent, Joshua Phillips is going to be resentenced on February 27, 2017. Eric Smith. You hear very often that children who end up murdering were usually bullied or abused. Eric Smith was a case of a kid who was bullied for his appearance. On August 2nd in 1993, when Eric Smith was only 13 years old, he was riding his bike through a park when he saw 4-year-old Derek Robbie walking alone. They were both on their way to a local day camp. Eric Smith brought the boy into a wooded area by the park where he strangled him, dropped a large rock on his head, took his clothes off, and sexually assaulted him with a tree limb. Midday, when Derek's mother went to pick him up from camp and they didn't find him, it only took investigators 4 hours to discover the body. A psychiatrist that worked with Smith discovered that he had an intermittent explosive disorder. Eric Smith was convicted of second-degree murder and given the maximum sentence that they could give to juveniles. Since 2002, Smith has been denied parole 8 times. He is eligible for parole again in 2018. 3. Mary Bell. On May 25, 1968, a young Mary Bell committed not 1, but 2 murders. This was just 1 day before her 11th birthday. Mary strangled 4-year-old Martin Brown in an abandoned house and broke into and vandalized a nursery, leaving notes admitting to killing the boy before leaving. At the time, the police assumed that the notes were just a disturbing prank. A month later, on July 31st, 1968, she strangled 3-year-old Brian Howe, later returning to carve an M into his stomach. She also used a pair of scissors to cut off some of his hair, scratch his legs, and mutilate his genitals. It was initially believed that she committed this murder with the girl that she broke into the nursery with, Norma Bell. Though Norma was acquitted, Mary Bell was convicted of manslaughter. Multiple psychiatrists describe her as having a classic symptom of psychopathy, and the judge said that she posed a very grave risk to other children. In 1980, at the age of 23, Mary Bell was released from prison after 12 years served and given a new identity. She had a daughter and a seemingly normal life, until reporters discovered where she was in 1998. She and her daughter have since been given another identity. In 2009, she even became a grandmother. Due to her gender and age at the time, this was one of the most famous murder cases in England. There is plenty of information available to you on this if you're interested in hearing more. Craig Price. Craig Price was only 13 when he committed his first of many murders. July 27, 1987, in the middle of the night, he broke into a home down the street from where he lived. He took a knife from the kitchen and stabbed 27-year-old Rebecca Spencer 58 times. 2 years later, on September 1st, 1989, he murdered 3 more neighbors, a woman and her 2 small girls. 39-year-old Joan Heaton was stabbed 57 times, 10-year-old Jennifer Heaton was stabbed 62 times, and her other daughter, 8-year-old Melissa, was stabbed 30 times and her skull was crushed. The stabbings were so violent and deep that he broke multiple knife handles into the bodies of these poor girls. After being taken in, Craig Price showed no remorse when he confessed to the murders. Psychologists have claimed that because of his violence that he is unlikely to ever be rehabilitated. There was a group formed to help keep him behind bars, where he can't hurt anyone on the outside again, called Citizens Opposed to the Release of Craig Price. While in prison, he has retained his brutally violent ways. In 2009, he stabbed an officer in the finger with a handmade shank while trying to attack another inmate. The officer was breaking up a fight between the pair at the time. He has been in trouble multiple times for assault, refusing psychological evaluations, threatening corrections officers, and of course, fighting with other inmates. Even though he is clearly not rehabilitated, he is scheduled to be released on May of 2020, but we'll see what actually happens. 1. John Venables and Robert Thompson. I'm gonna warn you right now, this one is both long and seriously messed up. On February 12th, 1993, when John and Robert were just 10 years old, they found 2-year-old James Bulger waiting for his mother inside of a butcher's shop. Security camera footage from the shopping center that they took James from showed that the boys were observing the kids in the area before selecting him as their victim. The plan was to find a child, lead him to a busy road, and push him into traffic. While James's mother was inside the butcher's shop, the boys saw their opportunity and walked up to him, took his hand, and walked him out. The boys walked with him for 2.5 miles down the road and took him to the Leeds and Liverpool Canal, where they dropped him on his head. 38 people saw the crying boy with a large bump on his head, walking with these 2 evil children, but most didn't say anything. 2 separate people did stop them and ask them what was wrong. The boys replied to one that he was their younger brother, and to another that he was lost, so they were taking him to the police station. They finished their walk near a railway and began to torture James. They threw blue paint into his left eye, kicked him, stomped on him, and threw rocks and bricks at him and placed batteries into his mouth. After all this, the boys dropped a 22-pound iron bar on his head, killing him. Because his shoes, socks, pants, and underwear were removed, it was believed that there was also sexual assault, potentially with the batteries, though the boys denied this. Before leaving, they laid his body over the railroad tracks and put rocks on his head to weigh him down. They believed the train hitting him would make it look like an accident. His body was found 2 days later. John Venables and Robert Thompson were the youngest convicted murderers in England. In 2001, after serving only 8 years, the boys were released early. They were given new identities and moved into separate, secret locations. Per terms of their release, they were not allowed to contact each other, the victim's family, or go back to the region. In 2010, Venables was returned to prison for violating the terms of his release, and for possession and distribution of indecent images of children. He was again given a new identity and released on parole in 2013. Alright geeks, that's going to do it for this horribly depressing video. There's only about a week and a half or so left to get your hands on the t-shirt for this, our very first horror month on Geeky Gaming. Be sure to come back tomorrow as we continue our horror month. Don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, and share before you go. Alright geeks, I will see you tomorrow.